Good morning. Thank you all for joining us. And glad everybody made it here safely. If any of you flew in yesterday, it was a bit of a experience. So glad you're all here and safe. Thank you for our panelists. This morning we're going to talk about what platforms are looking for, what kind of programming, in what shape, in what size, in what format. And I'm going to have the panelists introduce themselves. We do range from public broadcasters to linear channels to pay TV to online services. So we run the gamut here. So let's start. Tara.
Hi, I'm Tara Sorensen. I head up kids programming for Amazon Studios. Oh, and we are a streaming service in S5.
Laurence?
Just quick. I'm Laurence Blaevoet. I'm French, so my accent. I'm head of the children channel for CANAL Plus's pay television. So 3 channels. Voilà.
Hello, I'm Marc Buhaj, General Manager of Disney XD, which is part of the Disney Channel's worldwide portfolio. All platforms, as many as we can get on, we try and get there.
Sarah.
Hello, I'm Sarah Muller. I'm Creative Director at In-House Productions at CBBC, which is the older children's channel in the BBC Children's family.
Excellent. All right. Tara. So you're an online streaming service. When you launched, which was after a lot of, well, certainly the other 3 panelists were already up and running. Yes. Did you see a gap in the market? How did you approach the offering that you wanted to give children, and what children do you target? What age groups?
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of content out there, and we knew that we needed to stand out in some way, so we did that with our preschool curriculum. We started with preschool just knowing that for the most part parents would discover the service and hand it to their children, so we wanted to start when they were young. And our curriculum really focuses on right brain thinking, creativity, so that we weren't necessarily, competing with, core curriculum or the social emotional learning of some other channels. The other thing that we really tried to embrace was the streaming aspect of our service. So because we are not a linear broadcaster, we could encourage kids to stop the programs, rewind the programs, repeat the programs, and go outside of the programs to really engage in that learning, which is found in our shows.
Right. And Laurence, you program for a number of different services. Briefly describe them.
So we are linear channels, the old-fashioned television, and so pay television. One is premium, belongs to CANAL Plus's services, and 2 others are kids channels. One called Pee-wee Plus, it's for 3 to 6 years old kids, and Télétoon Plus, it's French also. It's for 6 to 10 years old, and what can I say more?
That's
okay.
Good. That's good.
It's
you
enough.
Run. That's fine.
Okay.
That's right. And Marc, so how is Disney XD different from, because Disney Worldwide Disney Channels Worldwide has a portfolio of channels. How is Disney XD different? Who do you target and what do you offer?
Okay, first of all, it's different. The name's different from Disney Channel and Disney Junior. Look, there are some things we've got that are consistent across the board, and that is we're always trying to deliver quality storytelling. We're trying to be brands that are very relatable to kids and their lifestyles. Disney XD is a little like the laboratory or the laboratory, depending on where you come from. And by that I mean the philosophy of us is that we want to push, research, try things, and at the end of the day try and come up with storytelling and content and narrative that kids absolutely need. We celebrate our duality. We've got live action, animation, comedy, action adventure. And then also we have channels around the world that work to local audiences. Good examples of shows that are produced locally and that can then get exported and imported around the world would be Once, our LATAM team are producing a Spanish telenovela around football. And then also our European team are producing lots of great animated co-pros. So we have a US content pipeline, but then also pipelines around the world that are delivering. We are primarily boys, but also girl inclusive.
Excellent. And Sarah, so you represent a public broadcaster. Does your mission and your resources allow you to offer programming that children can't find elsewhere?
Yes, it most certainly does. And I think I'd like to go further than that and say that it is absolutely a mandate that we must deliver a worldview that includes all children, and that we hold a mirror up to reflect society for all children. So you will find the widest range of content, certainly on CBBC, which very much mirrors what you see on in the wider BBC family. So we do everything from really quite hard-hitting documentary dealing with quite tough subjects like autism, bereavement, substance abuse in families, and also gender issues for children through a daily rolling news service, sports coverage, fact-ent, entertainment, comedy, and then a lot of original drama and animation, which is very much what I've been responsible for the last few years.
Excellent. All right. So
Sarah's the most sophisticated person on the panel.
Yeah.
Not me.
Bar none.
All right. Well, I'm sure everyone here is interested in my next question, which we'll get out of the way right away. What right now are you looking for? Are you looking for a specific slot to fill, or are you looking for to serve a particular audience? Yeah, you don't have slots, so yours is different.
We don't have slots. So we are always looking for great shows that have great stories, great characters. Innovation in design or storytelling is really important for us because we don't have slots. We're not necessarily, needing to fill a gap in preschool or 6 to 11. We do everything from preschool, transitional preschool, within 6 to 11. All of our shows have sweet spots because 6 to 11 is more of an advertising demo, and we're not an ad-driven service. We like to find stuff on the younger end and the older end. We are medium agnostic, which is to say we will do live action, we will do animation, we will do CG, we will do hybrid, we will do puppet. So right now I think we definitely are looking to fill the pipeline in animation just because it simply takes longer for that to get through production. But otherwise we're totally open just to something that's unique and hasn't been done before.
All right. Laurence.
Yeah, in France it's quite complicated. I mean, everywhere, but we have a strong American. We have lots of American channels here in France, and they have very, very strong IPs. So what we're looking is really to be into the French cultural footprint, so French books, French movies, French games. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for also, we decided, because the 8 to 10 are living animation, well, in France at least, and we want to go into live action, sort of spooky live action, and so that's what we're looking for.
Marc?
For ourselves, we're looking for stuff that is really, really good, but incredibly cheap. So if you can provide both of those, that ticks both of our boxes. No, look, I think similar to Tara, medium, genre, technique, agnostic, we'll take sort of all different types. Again, we've got 3 channels. I'm speaking for XD today, but, we run the spectrum. It is really important to have a strong creative point of view. If you're going to do comedy, make sure you laugh. Don't just smile, but try and make stuff that makes people laugh. And the same for action adventure. Have the stakes high. I think in this viewing universe, those that do that will stand out more. And so that's what we're after. And also at the end of the day, we want to meet smart people and smart studios. So that's the goal.
What I'm going to say comes with a big health warning, because I'm sure some of you know that at the end of this month I very sadly leave the BBC for a competitive broadcaster. So I'm going to say what I think we're looking for, and just bear in mind that might change. As you should make sure that you hook up with my really clever colleagues and just double check what I'm saying is true. In fact, I could say we wanted anything, couldn't I? Genuinely, everything starts with storytelling for us. We work across a range of platforms, and obviously we want all of the things that my fine colleagues have said they want here. So maybe I'll talk a little bit about digital. The thing that still eludes us, who are looking for gripping stories, great characters that you want to spend time with, is how that really works as a digital first property. What does truly digital storytelling look like? I'm going to go so far as to say that none of us have really cracked that yet. You know, how do we take all this clever technology and platforms and our audience's ability to engage with content in different ways and turn that into something truly unique and special and revolutionary? So I think that's the challenge I'm going to throw down, and I'm absolutely certain that if you could bring that to children's BBC, that there'll be a lot of interest in it. Oh yes, and it needs to be cheap as well.
But it is a good point on the digital side. Make sure that you're working with people that, if they say they're making digital, that you get judged on its performance in the digital space and not in the linear space. Because we find ourselves doing that all the time. You know, earlier this year, we paid tribute to High School Musical, working with a gentleman called Bad Lip Reading. And we produced Bad Lip Reading and Disney XD present High School Musical. Check it out on YouTube. But it wasn't for linear, and we didn't judge it that way. We judged it on whether it brought us into the conversation. That was really important. We need to do more of that. At the end of the day, we are also going to have to show some ROI on all that as well. So it's not just going down the one path, but the triangle.
Right.
But the audience doesn't judge it on that. It's only you lot and our bosses that judge it on that.
And it's shareholders.
So you have different, because you all have different platforms. You have linear, VOD, SVOD, whatever. Different programming goes on different platforms, or are you looking for something that can go across all of them, or both?
I don't have different platforms.
Right.
Yes, I mean, the linear for the moment, the digital part is a bit more than a sequel of the linear programming. So we try to have lots of things, games, tutorials, or web episodes on our websites.
Yeah, for us, the different content has different properties that work on the different platforms. You know, you can do some speed dating narrative in your micro and short form, which might be great to put out on some digital platforms. The linear network is still fantastic for big, huge events. So the way that we see it is that we'll produce the content and then work out what platform it should lead from, but also at the end of the day, put it up everywhere almost immediately. You know, that's one of the mantras that we have, is just get it out there where the kids are.
So a little born of necessity. It takes a long time to make certainly the dramas and the animation series that I'm involved with. And we are now looking at iterations that will work 24/7 throughout the year to keep our brands alive while we're making new content. So literally everything we do now has a fairly well thought through program of additional content, and we're doing it across all our key titles, so that at any time of the year, even if something new isn't on air, you can go and find a really great game, a piece of short form, some social media content, some bespoke YouTube content, little stunts that we might run at different times of the year, like a flash mob or all sorts of different things, but we are planning it right from the word go, and I'd be very happy to take you through some of that, because it requires a very different mindset and a different approach to planning right from the beginning, certainly for me as a content creator. You've really got to start thinking and planning. You've got to assemble your big teams, get everybody in a room, all the stakeholders, and talk right from the beginning. Don't leave anything to chance. And we found, say, for instance, with Danger Mouse, which is an in-house title, and also The Next Step, which is acquired, that working in this way absolutely elevates the profiles of your big, serious key brands. And we have to think about them as brands, not just programs.
Yeah, you end up creating what we call a content ecosystem. Although within some of the larger companies, we also joke the fact that you need to break down the ecosystem that comes in getting that ecosystem made, because you're working with lots of different departments who have different budgets, and it can get messy. It's a messy time, but messy can be exciting if you can navigate out of it.
Okay, this is for all of you or any of you. Give us an idea of the percentage of your schedule that is acquired, and how acquisitions support the original productions that you are investing in.
I mean, again, I think it's a little different for Amazon because certainly we do have programs that are licensed within Prime Video. Within our original, I'll sort of field the question from an original standpoint. There are also shows that essentially we look at as a pre-buy. So we have creative input, but it's really produced outside of our purview. And they're branded as original because we feel it fits the brand. That would include Thunderbirds Are Go, which in the U.S. is an original. That would include the show that we just announced, I think yesterday, Ronya. And there are other titles like Bookaboo coming out. Again, it's a license, but it will be presented as an original. So I would probably say there's, 10 to 15% of our lineup that's either, licensed or a co-production that's not fully grown within Amazon Studios.
So for Canal Plus, it's 50-50, I'll say. We tripled our budget last year, so it's good news. So we invest more and more in pre-buy, what we call, not really co-production, but pre-buy. And we have a really very strong part. We play a very strong part in the development of the series. So that's very important for us. And it's French, of course, French series.
With the increase of the budget, you're the most popular person up here. We don't have a set percentage. It's a very fluid thing. We use acquisitions and co-productions to supplement what we've got coming out of our original content pipelines. But they're an important part. I think the most important part on the co-production side is to make sure that anyone that's at the table is there for a good reason. And while you'd like to have a party with a lot of people in it, you don't want so many people that the creative vision gets lost. An example of one that we navigate, we'll do co-productions internally, and Star Wars, Lego, the Freemaker Adventure is a good example of that. We work with Lucas internally, and they also work with an external co-production partner in Lego. Over the years, I've just learned that you all have to speak constantly, and the journey will never be smooth, but ultimately worthwhile because you get some really interesting productions.
Right.
We approach acquisitions in two ways, and the bulk of them are pre-buys, and I won't deal with them. I'll just talk about two straightforward acquisitions, which is again the next step, and also the deep. Both of those do something slightly different. They're not content that we would probably have set out to make for ourselves, that bring something really rich into the schedule that the audience really enjoys, and offers an opportunity to open the world up in a slightly different way. So again, it's all about value for money. That brings the license fee something extra, really, and I think that's what we're always looking for. And admittedly, I did buy both of those shows, so I suppose they are close to my heart, but they are working. They're not a risk we could have afforded to take, so it's a smart use of money for me.
Right. And I know that co-productions is a term that has myriad definitions. So as it applies to you, when you have been involved in a co-production, could you give some examples of how things like which curriculum to follow was chosen, or which values were considered universal for all partners? Am I right that these are the thorny things that need to be, besides the money, obviously, that comes first, but what are sort of the things that need to be ironed out before the project can proceed?
I mean, I think for Amazon, it's really just a creative one, making sure it fits with the brand. That's really most important, because we're always thinking about Amazon's customers. If we're going to get into a co-production situation, we need to first make sure that our customers will respond to it positively. And if we can check that box, all the other stuff seems to fall in line. There have been instances where we may have disagreed on, a storyline or how a scene was executed, but ultimately we have been able to secure another version for our market so that it did work for our customers, and it still worked for the larger co-production.
For us, it's important to have, of course, curriculum some values. I wanted to take an example, and I saw Roch Liner is there, and we fell in love, and he fell in love first on a little brand, little emoticon in Korea called Molong, and so we decided to be partners together and to develop that series, and we enjoy to do that because it's really about love and friendship and living together, and it was really, really important for us, and we were so happy because it's a huge success in the States on Disney Junior. It's a huge success on Cartoonito in Great Britain. Am I right? And in France, of course, it's also the same. So I think that's quite universal.
We like a more primal Neanderthal way. We like to arm wrestle over whose voice will be loudest at the table. So we generally get all of the partners in, and one by one we arm wrestle, and then whomever wins has the loudest say. No, look, when you're working on co-productions, as I said, you've got to be speaking all of the time, and there will be disagreements. It's hard enough making something when it's just yourself in your own head with the million voices that are there, let alone with others. At the end of the day, quality storytelling, I know it's easy to say, but quality storytelling is transcendent. And humour, when done well, is also universal. And, you know, they weren't co-productions. I wasn't working at Disney a few years ago, and I remember seeing a promo for a movie, and it was about a musical of kids at high school. And I remember us saying, kids aren't into musicals, but it was executed well. Not long after that, that same place, Disney, had a series about a young girl who was a country singer. Right. I remember thinking, kids aren't into country music. We're wrong. The reason both of those worked wasn't because they were the aspirational thing to do, but it was quality storytelling. And so whether you're making your own product or a co-production or an acquisition, always shoot for that. Great character, great story trumps everything.
I think co-production is massively important and very much part of the model for a successful way forward. There will always be a range of things that the BBC will make, which is for the domestic UK market, that don't travel and that don't have any place anywhere else. And they are, you know, small dramas that focus on children in care homes. Very, very popular in the UK. They don't travel. So for us, when we want to look at how we might tell bigger, more ambitious stories to our audience, that's where we're looking for co-production partners. And it is working very well. Our starting position is to look at storytelling that's truly international, at characters and stories that every kid understands. And I guess we find for us that's around fantasy and magic. Harry Potter's done very well. People recognise that as a UK starting base. So with titles like Wolfblood, and most recently I think a good example for us is The Worst Witch, which is a classic UK, very successful book title. We have co-produced that with ZDF and also with Netflix. And that has given us an opportunity to make an enormously expensive, ambitious, beautiful show for our audience, for the younger part of our audience, that we certainly couldn't have funded on our own. So that's been great. Because we've chosen these universal themes, the creative and editorial arm wrestling has been much less than it might have been, because everybody recognises culturally what these things are meant to be about. So they're very small things and they're easily resolved, actually, at the end. And I think that goes to the integrity that Marc was talking about. It's about getting it right. And I can't remember what else I was going to say. I ran with the arm wrestling metaphor. I shouldn't have done it.
No, but I tell you what, Sarah is looking for funding here. She is producing Brexit the musical. We think that this is going to be fantastic for kids. It's a musical. It's a telenovela. It's a tragedy. And it's available for funding.
All right, well, we made news this morning. Excellent. Speaking of Brexit, I did want to bring that up. It is a bit of an unknown at this point, but what feel do you have as to how it will impact financing and co-production possibilities? Or is it still unknown because we don't know?
None. Because if you speak about quotas, it doesn't. I mean, Great Britain is in the UK, in the European Union, in Europe. I mean, in France we recognize Norwegian or Russian programs are European, so it doesn't make, well, it's okay for us.
Okay.
And I think it's just too early to tell.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, I think it speaks for the industry in that we always just want great storytelling and production companies and creators doing well out of the UK. But again, it's too early to tell. At the moment, it's a little bit cheaper to buy stuff from the UK.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we need the creative community there working on lots of stuff because there's some great storytelling from it.
We make our choices based on the appropriate partnership for the appropriate project, and they're all different. So I'd like to hope that won't change.
Okay. Tara, in the event that people in the audience still need to learn about this, your pilot process is different from traditional.
Our pilot process is outward facing. It's a way for us to gauge reaction from our customers. As I mentioned earlier, we hold them in pretty high regard. They always have a seat at the table when we're making decisions. So pilots are put up for all the world to see. You don't need to be a Prime customer for you to see our pilots. They typically go up twice a year in spring and fall, and we look at metrics to see how our customers are responding to them. There's also star comments similar to Amazon Retail and written comments that, you know, not only do we have access to, but our content creators can see in real time, which has been, I think, a real value add for them in the process. Those comments definitely get incorporated into series if and when we move forward, so that we can address, you know, customer concern.
Right. Laurence, one of your channels is involved in preschool programming. Is there still a lot of preschool programming on the market? Are you looking for anything in particular? Are you having a problem finding something specific for that age group?
Well, what's difficult is to find original not original programs, but programs that can be broadcast for us, because the main nice programs are preempted by Disney or Nick Jr. That's quite difficult. But anyway, we find a lot of nice programs. It's not really difficult, and now that we can pre-buy a lot of programs, we're very into that.
Right. So children are growing up in an exciting world, but it's also a difficult world right now. How is your programming addressing themes like diversity and inclusion? Are these important themes for you?
Yeah, look, I think inclusiveness is important, incredibly important. And you want a diversity of personality in any brand that you have. And also, diversity can mean race, religion, ethnicity, gender, again, just personality. So that should be something that one strives for, and it's something that we work on really hard, and I think it only makes you stronger and more interesting. And that's one way of dealing with the world. Be interesting.
Right.
It's absolutely at the front and centre of everything the entire BBC does, and I'm sure you all know that. We're doing not too badly with our depiction of different lives, with our diverse casting across ranges of disabilities and ethnicities. What we are failing at, and which I personally am working as hard as I can on, is what happens behind the camera and at different parts of the process. It's still fairly shocking that certain groups aren't as well represented in certain sectors of the production and the industry process as they should be. And I, for one, am always working, say, to look for writers that have different sets of experiences, trying to get more women into comedy, trying to get more ethnicity into different types of writing. So you just don't, and please forgive me, quite a lot of the room walk into a writer's room and it is all white men between a very narrow age band who all have the same fields of experiences and the same stories to tell. Because not only is that not fair on quite a lot of the world's population because they're not seeing themselves. It actually means you're really limiting what you're trying to do in terms of storytelling, because everything comes from a very narrow range of experiences. I hope that's not contentious in any way.
No, but it's also, it's not just about casting. To Sarah's point, it's about the people that are telling the stories. And you have to work really proactively to bring people who might normally be in that clique within each industry, because each medium has its own folks that have been doing the same thing for a very long time. And so you have to force it in. You know, we have directors programs where we're getting more female directors on our live action multi-camera sitcoms. Really proud on the animation side that we actually have female creators on animated series, which has been a traditionally sort of white male place. So you have to work at it hard, but it also, and there's things you can do immediately, but there's other things that are a lot more long term. In the US, may even be trying to push a lady to be president. So we're trying all different
Yay!
things. Maybe.
I'm here to say yay for Hillary.
Yes, me too.
I just wanted to say for Amazon, you know, certainly one of my goals is always to hold up a mirror for our audience, and that's being reflective on screen. But I think we've done an exceptional job putting, you know, representing diversity behind the camera. Specifically, we're working on these American Girl specials right now, and, you know, each one focuses on a different girl of ethnic diversity, and we wanted to make sure that that carried through every step of the way. So on a show that's coming out on October 21st, our director to our writer to our costume designer to our hair and makeup, you know, we're all reflective of what that story was, and we will continue that with each of the American Girl stories. On a show, Gordimer, that we did, you know, years ago now, I think 4 of the 12 slots for directors were women, and those women, some of them had never directed before. It was sort of outside of university, but I think it does warrant, I think, all of us to take risks with those talent, because if we don't support them, they cannot be successful. So, you know, I think for us, our shows have been a little bit more risky in their approach, and it's paid off for us.
Right, right. And so children are early adopters of new technologies. They at very young ages, they can swipe, they can click, they can do whatever. What are you offering beyond the traditional screen? What kind of content and where are you offering it? And how important is this right now?
Incredibly important. Curse those children learning new technology. It's made my job harder. You know, as I said, we try and keep it simple in that we want to get our content across all platforms as quickly as possible. And I think you leave it at that.
Yeah.
Don't say it, do it.
Right. Do you also sometimes premiere things not on the linear channel first?
Absolutely. You know, there are things that'll be exclusively on digital. There'll be things that... yeah, I think it's probably rare now that you would premiere on linear. So, look, again, everyone's probably got a slightly different approach.
Right.
But for us, it's get out to wherever the audience is, we'll be there.
Okay. All right. What do you think for your channel or your service in particular, or channels, and for the industry at large, in the next 12 to 24 months, what do you feel is coming up next, or what would you like to see coming up next? Okay.
Am I supposed to go first?
Whoever
You have an
wants
answer,
to.
Mark. Go.
Look, I think there are some... we would like to get a little more insight into where the kids are all the time, you know, because you want to study the behaviour and the interests of your viewers. You know, I think some measuring systems were running a little bit behind
Right.
where we need them to be. So I think that's probably been one of the most interesting conundrums, and it's one that we need to work on.
We have not been as prolific on the digital side. You know, I have been mostly focused on the screen. But I would say for Amazon in the next, 12 to 24 months, I would like us to think outside of the screen in terms of storytelling and how, different stories can spring out of different platforms and feed into one another. You know, transmedia is one word. I'm sure there's other words that are like more, hotter at this moment. But I think there's an opportunity, as Amazon is a technology company, to do something more innovative in that space than we've done to date.
No, go ahead.
So I think that the BBC have made some magnificent strides forward in terms of personalising the journey, the user experience, and iPlayer Kids is great. For me, I'm always going to go back to the same thing, and it's a rather Luddite-ish response, which is, I think that this year, now we're starting to understand our platforms, it's about the content. It's about great storytelling and remembering it's not just about fantastic platforms, it's about the beautiful vase to put on the platform. So I think it might be time to regroup a little bit. I think that's what I'm going to say.
Excellent.
I do totally agree with you, Sarah, but now we decided to go into digital, and we have a new escape game show going to be broadcasted at the end of the month, and we did our own VR thriller for kids, and we did it in-house. We tried to work on that because we wanted to give them the children another point of view on the escape game. So we'll see what will happen with that. It's a test.
And it doesn't matter what format you're working in. Just make the narrative authentic and sincere. You can have something that's really high-end, lots of special effects. We've got a big giant robot show called Mech X4, which will launch on Disney channels in the coming weeks. But then we're also working with a lot of maker talent, and that's very stripped back and very plain. But the common theme between the stuff that works is that there's an authentic narrative, and you chase that. Again, it's some of these things, quality storytelling, authentic narrative, really easy to say. They're hard to do. But they honestly are what the focus is for us.
And any messages you have to someone who at this market will want to pitch you ideas? Do you have any messages?
Should we say what we're not looking for?
Sure, absolutely.
We're not looking for short form content. Everything that we present is presented in a half hour, so it's 11 or 22 minute. There have been instances where we've done specials that are 35 to 45 minute, but there has to be a reason for those specials. I am not looking for reality programming. I am looking for scripted series with evergreen character and story that can live on our service for years to come. And I think, as Marc mentioned, authenticity is important. It really is for us about creators driving the vision. And so for a creator to drive a vision, there has to be a unique perspective on it. And for me, I always look at that in innovation. There are definitely ideas that are regenerated time and time again, but the execution is something that differentiates them. And the one other thing I would just add about Amazon is that not only are we thinking about the child we're putting the show in front of, but we're also thinking about the family as a whole. Our customer is the Prime customer, which is an adult, which triggers that subscription service. And so in certain instances in the older programs, we're thinking about co-viewing. On the younger side of the demographic, we're really thinking about how parents can engage in that learning with the child. So, it doesn't have to come in that way, but it's something that I think creators should be cognizant of when they're coming to us. Scatological humor does not work for our Prime customer. They do not think it's as funny as their 7-year-old. Something that's, super irreverent has a tendency not to work for us in animation. I think really what it comes down to, again, is being sort of reflective of who our audience is, what they're going through in that time. It is that authentic voice. It's why we've portrayed kids in situations where they're dealing with the death of a parent. We're working right now on a special that deals with race relations. So stuff that is of the time is important for us to represent to our audience because it's things that they are going through, are living with, and we want to make sure that they can see it on television.
So just when you present us a program, be just creative, passionate, and have fun while you're pitching, because you transmit your
enthusiasm.
Well, exactly. That's it.
For us, specifically at this market, I'd like to take this down. We're looking for an aspirational penguin drama. He wants to be a rock star, but he also wants to be a superhero. No, I'm only kidding.
And it has to be cheap.
It has to be cheap.
You're going to get 20 of those pitches.
Exactly, and really good. There actually was a year here at the market many years ago. Penguins were the thing. I don't want to ever see a penguin pitch again. Nothing against penguins. For ourselves, you know, a sort of more tactical one for you. If you've got sort of a great story, if all of us are clamouring for it, all of us are telling you in the speed dating experience that is MIP that we are the best, take the time, seek out Karen Miller, Paul de Benedettis, and pitch them. And also, turn the tables on us. Ask why we would be a good partner for you. I think that's the question you have to ask as you're making a series.
Having sat where you're sitting and done just as many pitches as taken pitches as a broadcaster, I'm just going to give you, to start with, the most sensible advice, which is do try to understand the person you're pitching to. Please don't take people things if they're a preschool channel that are for 10-year-olds. Try to have a look what's already on, because there's only a certain amount of hours in the day at these events, and you want to give everything your best shot and make sure you've seen the right people. So to spend half an hour with somebody who has something you can't possibly take in a million years for a variety of reasons isn't a worthwhile use, certainly, of your time and the money it's cost you to come here. So just research first, try and find out what's already on, try and understand. And then, exactly as Laurence says, try and communicate your passion. There'll be a reason you've developed this particular show, this baby. Try and tell us what that is. And really, we're all human, and we have all sat where you have, and we don't bite, and we're not going to kill you, and it's not going to be awful. So don't be nervous, don't be worried, we're all approachable, but not in the toilet, please.
All right. Well, so just to wrap up, there are two projects that are waiting to be made: Brexit the musical,
yes,
and an aspirational penguin drama.
Live action.
Yes. All right. Now, more seriously, the reason we're here not only was to have this panel and have you learn from these distinguished panelists, but also to recognize their contributions to the children's, I don't even want to say television, media industry. It's no longer just television. And while they are engaging and entertaining and professionals, they carry a serious responsibility in that the programming that they select and program helps shape tomorrow's citizens, voters. God, we need that for America right now. And doctors and engineers and scientists. So I do believe sincerely that their accomplishments need to be recognized, and that's what we're saving for this last portion, is where we will be awarding some trophies to them, and Lucy will be joining me to help. There you are, Lucy. So I am the group editorial director of World Screen, that has a number of publications, of which TV Kids is one that addresses you, and in partnership with Reed Meadham, we are awarding the Kids Trendsetter Awards too. And now if you each come up and then stay here so we can take pictures. And you can applaud whenever you want.
Sarah Muller, could you kindly come up?
Marc?
Thank you. Cheers.
Laurence?
Wow.
And Tara. And let's have a group one now.
Yeah, let's get up in the middle. There's a group photo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. I've never seen so many people.